If you're in the process of purchasing defibrillators, or AEDs as we also call them, for your workplace in Australia right now, you may well have narrowed down your shortlist of potential models of defibrillators to these two units here. These two are the most popular two defibrillators that we're supplying to workplaces in Australia right now. The two are the HeartSign Samaritan 360p, and the second one is the LifePak CR2 Wi-Fi model. Now on paper, these two units can look quite similar. There's significant differences between the two, and most of the conversations that we have with clients looking at defibrillators seem to focus at the moment on the differences between these two models. So I thought I'd prepare a short video specifically on the differences between these two models. Now firstly, I'll cover off the similarities. Both of the units have a massive 8-year warranty. They both have an interval for the changeover of the battery and the pad of 4 years. So every 4 years, the battery and the pad get changed over. And they're both what we call fully automatic AEDs. So that means that if the defibrillator that's hooked up to the person that suffered the sudden cardiac arrest determines that it's appropriate to deliver a shock to the person, then the unit will deliver it automatically rather than relying on the first aider pressing a button. So there's other units on the market that are what we call semi-automatic, which require the first aider to physically press a button to deliver a shock to the person that suffered the sudden cardiac arrest. And the first aider may or may not be confident to press the button at that time. Automatic units take that away and automatically deliver it if appropriate and won't deliver it if it's not appropriate. So the differences between the two units. The HeartSign Samaritan 360p, that's our compliance unit. It's, as I said, the fully automatic AED. The LifePak CR2 is a unit that's packed with a whole pile of features that for workplaces, there seems to be significant value in some of these features. So one of the first ones that I find is super relevant to particularly the industrial sector, we supply workplace safety equipment to a whole range of different businesses. Many of those workplaces have high levels of noise in the workplace. So the first difference between the two is what we call clear voice technology. So the LifePak CR2 automatically senses the ambient noise in the background of the area where it's being used, and it will increase the volume and vary the pitch of the voice that talks to you to issue instructions so that it's more likely to be heard over background noise. So if your workplace has the potential of having any noise in an area that somebody may be when they suffer a sudden cardiac arrest, then that feature is massive. The second difference between the two is the way that the unit is powered up and the way that the pads are accessed. So on the HeartSign unit, the unit needs to be powered up by pressing a button. So that green button there needs to be pressed to power it up to start using it. Now, some units don't require a button to be pressed to power it up. You simply open a lid, as with the LifePak unit that we'll look at in a second. People that may have done training on units previously that, where a lid is lifted up and there's no button to press to power it up, may not realise that a power button needs to be pressed on this unit, so be aware of that. With the HeartSign unit, the pads are actually tucked away under the unit, and again, people may not realise that the pads are necessarily there, so it's important to do staff training on this unit. You'll see that there's a green tab there, that's pulled out, and these are the pads here. So they're contained in a packet. The packet needs to be opened to access the pads. With the LifePak unit, I'm just going to grab the training unit so that I can power it up for you. This is one of our training units that we can use to show you and your team how to use the defibrillator once you've got it on site. So I'm going to lift the lid on that, and that'll power the unit up without me having to press a button. So you'll see there,
adult mode.
That's already powered up.
All clothing from patient
I'm just going to press that button so the voice isn't annoying us. So that's super easy to use. Simply lift the lid and it's powered up. And I like with this unit the ease of accessing the pads. It's very clear that with the visual instructions here, number one, remove the clothing from the upper body, and number two, pull this tab like there's an arrow. It's very clear that I need to pull that tab to access the pads. Whereas those, remember back on the HeartSign unit, the pads are tucked away underneath. So there's a bit of staff training to cover that off. Now, the thing that I like about the pads as well as the ease of finding them is the ease at which they can be removed from the unit, ready to attach to the person. So there's no additional work to be done once you get to this point, aside from lifting the tab, because they're stuck straight to the unit there. So that's there's no additional packet to undo. It's very quick to get to them. Simply pull them off and put them on the patient. And the instructions of where to put the pads on the patient are very clear. You can see this red one gets put there and the yellow one is put here. Now you'll see also there's an infant shown on here as well as an adult. That's indicating that these pads for the LifePak unit are the same pad whether the person that suffered the sudden cardiac arrest is a child or an adult, so you don't have to change the pads. If it's a child under 8, you simply need to press the button here to tell the unit that it's a child that you're working with. Whereas back on the HeartSign unit, there's actually separate pads for young children. So kids under 8, you've got to change the pad. So all of that takes time. So a staff training session needs to be done there to make people aware that needs to happen. So if you've got kids that may well be in the area where the AED is located, this unit is super easy to use when there's children involved. Another difference between the two units is the energy that's delivered in the shock. The LifePak unit has a greater range of energy that's delivered. This goes up to 360 joules. The HeartSign unit maxes out at 200 joules. So that's relevant to people in your workplace that may be a bigger body size. Somebody with a larger body size may well require a larger energy shock to be effective. So 360 joules compared to 200 joules. The LifePak unit has an interesting feature called CPR Insight analysis technology. What that means is the unit continues to monitor the condition of the patient whilst CPR is being delivered. So whilst chest compressions are being done, the unit can continue to monitor the condition and status of the patient. Now this is unique to this model. Other defibrillators on the market, including the HeartSign unit, require CPR to be ceased and people to stand clear of the patient whilst the defibrillator checks and assesses the condition of the patient. That's a great feature to allow the CPR to continue to be delivered whilst things are in play. The LifePak unit is also Wi-Fi enabled. Now that allows remote monitoring of the health of your fleet of defibrillators. So you might have a range of defibrillators at various locations around the place, and you can sit in your office and look at a program and see the health of those units. So if a battery needs to be changed, if pads need to be changed, you can see that through the program. You can also set up email notifications so that you're alerted if a unit's not working as it should and maybe a battery needs to be changed or whatever. So that just reduces the administrative burden on the ongoing maintenance and monitoring of your fleet of defibrillators. The LifePak unit also allows you to download data on the health of the patient if it's being used in anger. And the paramedics can download that data whilst they're en route to the hospital and pass on that information in advance so that the hospital knows what they're expecting when the patient arrives at the hospital. It's a super helpful feature. So they're the main differences between the two units based on the conversations that we have with people in workplaces in Australia every day of the week. Now, if you'd like to speak with a staff member that's trained on these units in person, and you'd like to see the units demonstrated so that you can see for yourself the differences between them, speak with the team at your local SafetyQuip branch to book it in. That can either be done at our offices, or we can bring the units out to your workplace so that you and various other people in your work site can see the units as well. Importantly, once you've purchased a defibrillator for your work site, speak to us to book in a time to bring out one of our training units so that we can show you and the crew how to operate the unit effectively. No point having it there if you don't know how it works and you don't feel confident to use it.